Hi everyone, it's Heidi from flutterbyheidi.co.uk, back again with some more Stampin' Up projects for you, and this time it's a little mini tote, but it's a wide tote, and I made it wide just so that it would fit these little Kinder mini bars. So these are just about 7 centimetres in length. And that means that obviously the box is just under 3 inches, about 2 3/4 inches, 3 inches in length. But as I say, you could fit all sorts of things in there, but I wanted it to be a little bit wider, and it just uses a Velcro dot for closure, but you could easily use a magnet if that's what you prefer. So what I'm using though are some lovely new products, and this is some gorgeous paper with a sewing theme. I don't do very much sewing. I used to do a lot of cross stitch, but I don't have the time these days, but I do admire people who do so. But these papers all have an embroidered theme, so they sort of cover a range of floral images on the one side and some butterflies, and on the reverse you've got these lovely much plainer patterns as well. So I've used this one here, this one which has got a poppy parade on the reverse, but you could easily pick out other colours. I mean, there's blue, a balmy blue in here, crushed curry, all sorts of colours. Most of the patterns are, at least half, are non-directional. That means you could use them on any sort of project. So like this one where you're folding it round, so you're going to want something that doesn't have a direction. Some of them do have a direction, so you know, sort of like the butterflies would look odd if it was upside down, and this pattern here as well is aimed to be seen in one. So those would be great for cards, but for 3D projects I would use the non-directional ones. And I'm a bit of a frugal streak here, so it uses just a very simple piece of 6x6 DSP and just a couple of offcuts really of real red poppy parade to make the handles and the little cover. I mean, you could have it without the little bar over the top as well, depending on what you were going to put in there, but I just quite like the way it finished it and just held it a little bit more closed as well. So starting off, 6x6 centimetre piece of designer series paper, DSP. We tend to use the shortcut with Stampin' Up, and you're going to do some scoring. So I'm using here my stamping trimmer, but if you've got a scoreboard that would work. So we're going to be using this button here, slider here, which is the lighter grey of the two, and you're going to score at 1/2 inch. So I'm lining that up on this side of the paper, and then I'll turn it round to do the remainder. So I will then go to 2 1/4, at 3 3/4, and at 5 1/2. Okay. Then you're going to turn it through 90 degrees and score in the other direction at 1 1/2 and at 4 1/2, like so. I'm then going to cut a piece of my poppy parade, this one here, and I'm going to cut a piece that is I'm looking at my measurements, can't see them. I think it's 1 1/2 by 2 1/2. I'm going to guess 1 1/2 by 2 1/2. It doesn't have to be precise, you're okay. And then I'm going to cut some long strips for the handles. Now these strips are about 5 inches long by about 1/4 inch. So I'm just going to line it up on the end here. And with these, it's always better to cut those pieces off a larger piece. It does make them fit better. So they're probably a bit longer, those ones, so they're actually about 6 inches long. Yeah, so I'll just have trimmed those down to 5, but I say if you wanted to make them a bit longer, it would work just as well. Okay. So pop those to one side. Now what we're going to do is just fold and reinforce these creases. I'm only going to do those with my fingers because it is paper, so it doesn't need a bone folder, to reinforce the creases too much. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to trim. If you orientate it, just to explain, I've reinforced the top of this. You can just see the pattern on the inside, and that's just to make it a little bit sturdier. So these are going to be our front and back pieces, and so if you have the little narrow fold over bits to either side, you're going to cut straight on these middle creases like so. And then because this tab's going to be hidden, just notch that out, like so. Then decide which piece you want to be your front. It doesn't matter, either side. Because this is going to be at the front, this is the piece you're going to have turned over. So I'm just going to cut away this small square over here. And that's because you just don't need it. But I'm just cutting straight and straight. So you'll end up with a piece that looks like this. So you've got a narrow score line, notched out, straight, and two pieces there. Okay, so because it's I'm making a 3D project, I'm going to use some tape. I'm just going to pop some red tape just for speed across all of these panels that are going to stick down. And you're going to want some on the side here. I couldn't have chosen a worse colour, could I, for putting tape on, really? That'll teach me. You'd think I'd have learnt my lessons by now. Never mind. Okay. And that's going to all glue together like so. Okay, so you're going to have your inner piece, side piece, inner piece, front piece, like so. You see? And then we're going to stick those pieces down. What we are going to do is actually just round these using our bone folder as well. So because we don't need a lot of this, what I'm just going to do is just trim about halfway down. Just reduces the bulk of it actually while I think about it. So instead of faffing about, it's a funny expression, isn't it, faffing? I do tend to use some of these expressions. I hope it's not too off-putting for people. It must be really difficult actually for people who are following in another language, because we do all tend to sort of chatter on a bit. Well, I do. Perhaps it's just me. So just fold that one in, fold the side, take our red tape off and just fold it like so. I'm then going to take my red tape off and fold over that front edge, and so it just reinforces it, makes it a little bit stronger. And then this is probably the most tricky one. I'm just going to notch on that front edge just a touch, and all you're going to do is just pop. You'll see if you pop it in at the side and pull it out, then you can fold it like so, and it just goes in. It's actually very easy. Then you're going to use bone folder, which I got out. Yes, here we go. And just, you see, I'm just using that to stretch the fibres slightly and curve that. So, as well as reinforcing there, just curve it out. And you want to kind of curve it rather than fold. It will sort of fold out anyway. And that creates our little sort of trug shape, really. I'm then going to do my little label over the top. I'm just using a corner rounder. This is a 1/2 inch corner rounder. I don't have the lovely Stampin' Up! Triple corner punch at the moment, so this is one I had from before. And again, just use your bone folder to curve that top piece. And as I said, for speed and also to keep it in place, I'm just going to put a piece of red tape on the, and I say the inside, yeah, the to the inside of the curve on that one. And then, as I said, check which is your front. So the front, if you remember, is where you can't see the join, and on the back, just pop that in the middle. So you can measure it if you want, but just pop it in and give it a good old squeeze. Then I'm going to use my Velcro dots. So I just pop that on the inside, attach my other half of it to it, and then fold it over like so, and pop your fingers in and give that a really good squeeze. Then you can lift it off and pop it in like so. Then to our handles, again, just use your bone folder just to gently shape those. And what I did on these is I actually trimmed them using a pair of scissors to a point. But the other thing you could obviously do is you could use the end of a circle punch, and you could just round them off if you wanted. Say I just literally took my scissors and just cut a little point on the very end on both of those. And I find that to make these, if you've got the time, then wet glue gives a really good hold. Obviously red tape likewise. For speed, I'm just going to use some of our great Stampin' Up! Glue dots. So I'm just going to pop one on each end of each strap, like so. And then with it closed, because I want to know it's at the side, I'm going to pop one to the left, so it's flat, and I'm just going to curve it flat round to the other side, like so. Then repeat with our other handle. Now what I didn't do, which I'm about to do, is show you the stamp set, which is where the sentiment comes from. So pop this one on here, and this one on here. Give it a good squeeze. So there's our little handbag. And the sentiment comes from the coordinating stamp set. And this is needle and thread, so it's called Needlepoint Nook. And it's got sentiments and lovely stitched floral images. I'm just using a sentiment here. So I've got a little scrap of Whisper White cardstock. Just on these new ink pads, a tip I picked up from lovely Connie Stewart is if you press with both thumbs on the far edge, that front edge will flip up and you get less ink on your fingers. Good tip for me, because I usually tend to end up wearing it. Just stamp that in some Poppy Parade ink as well. I'm just going to trim off that excess from where I did my sample. And then line that up, and this is just the classic label punch. And I'm going to line it up slightly more to one end and punch it, because I'm then going to come in from the underside and just make that a little bit smaller. So just make sure it's nice and square, punch, and then you can just punch a piece of Poppy Parade to go with it. And straight away we've got some instant layering. So all I'm going to do is just quickly use my snail and pop that in the middle. And as I say, because the one is has been trimmed down, here we go, we've got that ready to go. Pop a couple of dimensionals on the back. These are great, these little mini dimensionals I've used here. I find I tend to add some of those on whenever I do an order. And then just line that up the bottom, pop it in, and there's your little bag, all ready to have your treats popped in it as a quick thank you. Great to pop on a table, give to some girlfriends or male friends, and they look stunning with the sort of stitching effect on it. It's like a little mini Gladstone bag. Thanks for watching. If you'd like to purchase any of the products, pop along to my shop, heidismith.stampinup.net, or my blog, flutterbyheidi.co.uk, where you can find links to all of the products, and I pop the dimensions on there as well in case you couldn't follow anything that I was saying on the video. Thanks for watching. Come back soon. Bye.